Backs against the wall, season on the line. Your Texas Longhorns came through when it mattered most. More takeaways from Texas OU on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. It's Mazda Move and Be Moved. And it's Monday, October 13th, 2025. And OU still sucks. Oh, yeah. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is working today. Back home in Austin, and a couple of technical issues from Saturday's post-game show. We've got a lot more to break down from Texas 23, Oklahoma 6. We'll continue to talk about the dominant performance from the Longhorn defense. We'll also hand out a few game balls from Saturday's W as well. But let's dive in to the Longhorn offense first. Look, the first half wasn't great. A lot of what we saw against Ohio State and against Florida showed up in the first 30 minutes in Dallas. Penalties, the inability to run the ball consistently, collapsing pockets for Arch Manning, missed opportunities in the passing game, playing behind the chains, all of those things. It was not a pretty half of football for Texas. The Longhorns had just one good drive in the first half that ended in only 3 points, and that's all Texas scored in the first two quarters. And on that field goal drive, Texas had a 1st and goal from the 6, and they couldn't punch it in. So red zone struggles that we've seen all too often from this team so far in 2025. They showed up. Texas unable to come away with 7, ended up with just 3. The other 4 first half drives for Texas, 4 plays, -1 yard, punt, 3 plays, 0 yards, punt, 7 plays, 21 yards, doinked field goal, and then you had the kneel down on the final play. Not good. Texas had just 6 first downs in the first half, only 114 yards of total offense. Texas was 2 of 6 on third down. They had an average of 13.2 yards to go on those third downs. It just wasn't pretty. But the good news, these games are 2 halves. And in the second half, everything changed. The Longhorns got the ball first in the third quarter, the best drive of the season. 14 plays, 75 yards. Texas 4 of 4 on third downs. Of course, the touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore to cap off the drive. That one came on a third down. Great play design there from Steve Sarkisian as well. You had some pre-snap motion with Trey Wisner going out of the backfield. You could tell it confused the Oklahoma defense. DeAndre Moore was wide open. 14 plays, 75-yard touchdown drive that took 7 minutes and 11 seconds off the clock. I mean, to go from the, Manny Muhammad pick basically on the last play of the first half, and then to turn that into that start to half number 2, best case scenario for Texas. Then the Longhorn defense shows up. They force a punt. Texas gets the ball back. Not a great play on special teams. Ryan Niblett lets one bounce further than it needs to be. There's also a penalty on the Longhorns. So Texas is backed up their own 5-yard line. And I'm there at the Cotton Bowl, just praying for a first down or 2 so we can flip the field a little bit. I'm not expecting this offense against that defense to be able to get into scoring range, but Texas, again, putting it together. 13 plays, 65 yards. It only ended with a field goal, but still, to get points in that spot on a drive that started at your own 5-yard line, that was huge. Speaking of huge, how about Arch Manning's throw to Parker Livingston on that first third down conversion deep in Texas territory? I mean, that's an NFL throw right there. That is Arch Manning's talent on full display, rolling out and just throwing a dime on the sideline to Parker Livingston, put it in a place where only his receiver could get it. His roommate, by the way. I know we heard that a couple of times on the telecast from Fowler and Herbie, but huge play. And again, it's only a field goal, but when you start way back in your own territory like that against a defense like this, and also you take 6 minutes and change off the clock, that's huge. In that third quarter, Texas had the ball for 13 minutes and 26 seconds. OU had it for 1 minute and 34 seconds. That's incredible. Texas ran 26 offensive plays. Oklahoma ran 4 in that third quarter. That is how you get momentum on your side. That is how you go from down 6-3 to taking a touchdown lead into the fourth quarter. And then another good drive for Texas, the 7-play, 42-yard field goal drive to make it 23-6. 3-possession game in the final minutes. Nice to see Texas convert a couple of third downs. Arch Manning with a long run on that possession as well. Just so much good from the Horns in half number 2. Again, it was the best overall half of football this team has played, but especially the offense. I don't care about Sam Houston. They're horrible. To do that against a team with a pulse, really impressive stuff from the Longhorns. And you talk about situational football was a weakness for Texas in Columbus and in the Swamp. How about Texas going 8 of 11 on third downs in the second half? And it started with the quarterback. Arch Manning, 21 of 27, 166 yards, 1 touchdown. Look, 166, 1 touchdown, not going to win you the Heisman Trophy. It's going to win you this game. You know why? We talked about the third down success. Arch Manning, in particular, 11 of 12 on third down, 117 yards passing, and that touchdown to Demo. Talked about that 29-yard run as well on third down. That was big time. What else was big time? 0 turnovers for Arch Manning. And 0 turnover-worthy plays for Arch Manning. John Mateer had 3 picks. He could have had 4, 5, 6. I mean, Jelani McDonald dropped an easy pick 6. Leon Galafau almost had himself an interception. There were a couple. Texas had 6 PBUs. They had an opportunity for 2 or 3 more interceptions. Mateer was just chunking the ball up for grabs left and right. Arch Manning, 0 turnovers, 0 turnover-worthy plays. It's not like OU dropped the pick. No, Arch Manning was smart with the football. Only 6 incompletions against one of the best defenses in America. Legit. And here's a key stat. Why Arch looked so good, why he was smart with the football. The average depth of target for Arch Manning in this game, 4.2 yards. 4th shortest in the country this weekend. Last week against Florida, we talked about this being a huge issue. The average depth of target, 20.2 yards. Texas was just chunking the ball down the field. Again, they were down in the second half. That was part of the game plan, but still way too many deep throws with a horrible offensive line. Texas brought things way in, a lot of quick passes, a lot of short throws at or behind the line of scrimmage, and over time, it wore that Oklahoma defense down and started to work. So much better game plan from Steve Sarkisian and executed to a T for Arch, who only had 1 or 2, I thought, bad plays in this football game, if that. Trey Wisner, he's the Sooner Slayer. He was awesome against OU last year. Awesome again on Saturday. 22 carries for 94 yards, the most rushing yards for a Texas tailback in a game this year. And he did it against a top 5 rushing defense in America. Also 5 catches, 34 yards receiving, a couple of big third down conversion grabs for Trey Wisner. It's the stat. We said it on Friday. I know I brought it up in the postgame too. It's now 26 of the last 29 winners of the Texas OU game has been the team that has won the rushing battle. Texas ran for 138 as a team, coming off a 52-yard clunker against Florida. 138 against OU. OU's defense, by the way, was giving up less than 75 rushing yards per game going in. Well done there. And here's an interesting, deep dive analytical number that I really like. Against Florida and Ohio State, Texas was 2 for 11 in power rushing. That measures successful running plays when it's 2 yards or less, whether for a first down or a touchdown. Get situational football. Hadn't always been there for Texas. 2 of 11 in those 2 losses. 4 for 4 in the win over Oklahoma. When they needed a few yards in big spots on the ground, they got it. The offensive line, still a work in progress. Much better in the second half. OU still had 25 pressures. They had 12 TFLs, but it was much better from Texas up front. And again, in the second half, they started to lean on Oklahoma a little bit. Way better than last week. And I think that's the best defensive line that Texas is going to see all season. The rushing numbers in the second half, pretty good. 21 carries, 94 yards as a team. I thought Arch Manning had more clean pockets as the game went along as well. So I'll give them some love. Again, that's just kind of what they are. They're never going to be elite, never going to be great, but they were good enough, and they started wearing down the Sooners in the final 30 minutes. So credit where it's due. 16 points 304 yards of total offense. Not sexy, but Texas did what it needed to do. Again, smart. They made big plays when they had to. No turnovers. They stayed ahead of the chains in the second half. The biggest half of the year for the Longhorns. Season on the line. They delivered. Offense, defense, and special teams. But Sark deserves a lot of credit. OU, they kind of did what I thought they would do. They didn't blitz a lot. They dropped a lot of guys in coverage, plenty of 2 high, 3 high safety looks at times, a lot of that flyover style defense. They dared Texas to go underneath. I only remember like one deep shot for the Longhorns. Actually turned into Arch Manning's only sack of the game. So Sark stayed patient. Obviously, credit the players for executing. A lot of yards after catch for the receivers. Trey Wisner made some guys miss, broke some tackles as well. But like Steve Sarkisian was comfortable being patient. He knew what Brent Venables wanted to do. He devised a game plan that worked. So great showing for the Texas offense. Legacy game for Arch Manning. First big rivalry game as the starter at Texas. He came through. So that's the offense. Let's give some more love to the Texas defense and an awesome trend that's happening in this Red River Shootout that every Longhorn fan is going to love. Next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, Ryan Niblett, 75-yard punt return touchdown. Are you kidding me? This was a one-score game at the time. And Ryan Niblett, 75 yards to the house. No flags on the field. Just a massive, massive play for Texas on special teams. And that kind of felt like a dagger with the way the Texas defense was playing. Shout out to Ryan Niblett. That was great to see. That was Mazda's moving the game forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. Just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. All right, back here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. I'm going to give a couple of stats here, and I'm going to repeat myself on purpose because these stats are worth repeating. Oklahoma has failed to score a touchdown against Texas in 3 of the last 4 Red River shootouts. Let me say that again. Oklahoma has failed to score a touchdown against Texas in 3 of the last 4 Red River shootouts. By the time we get to the 2026 game, more than 1,000 days will have elapsed between Oklahoma touchdowns against Texas. It's 2 years in a row where the Horns kept the Sooners out of the end zone. By the time we get to next year's game, more than 1,000 days will have passed in between OU touchdowns against Texas. Brent Venables, now 1-3 against Texas. His offenses have scored 0 points, 3 points, and 6 points in those 3 losses in the last 4 years. Yeah, defensive dominance from Pete Kwiatkowski's group. Amazing. This year in particular, I don't even know where to begin. Everybody was good for Texas. You know, a stat that doesn't show up in the box score, we'll get to some of those numbers in a moment. We talked about OU not getting into the end zone. OU didn't even get into the red zone on Saturday. Forget the end zone. They didn't run a single play inside the Texas 20-yard line. That is amazing. Oh, man, OU fans were so happy. There was a loud cheer when Oklahoma's offense took the field first, and John Mateer was trotting out there. It's like, yes, Mateer is back. We got our Heisman hopeful back. Texas, you got no shot. Your defense can't stop this. Didn't get in the end zone. Didn't get into the red zone against this Texas defense. Any more Mateer for Heisman talk, or putting that to bed? I think we can. 3 interceptions. Now we get to the box score numbers. 3 interceptions for Texas. Consistent pass rush. The Longhorns lived in the backfield. 5 sacks, 7 TFLs. OU couldn't run the ball. Just 48 rushing yards as a team on 1.6 yards a carry. John Mateer couldn't run. The Oklahoma running backs couldn't run. And yeah, you know, it's interesting. The first drive wasn't great. Oklahoma gets the ball first. They marched down the field pretty quickly. Texas did bow up when they needed to, forced Oklahoma to just a field goal. But I know, I was at the game. There was some concern from the Texas crowd after what happened in the swamp. And it's like, man, that felt very easy for OU. After that drive, 0 concern the rest of the way. By the way, good to see Texas withstand the first punch. Like, they got hit early in Florida. and it took them way too long to get up off the mat. I don't know if the defense really ever got up off the mat. Not the case against Oklahoma. And here's maybe the biggest storyline of the game. The Texas defensive line was better than the vaunted Oklahoma defensive line. 5 sacks. Oklahoma only had 1. 7 TFLs for the Longhorns. Texas did not give up anything on the ground. Of course, the Longhorns, the much more successful rushing team inside the Cotton Bowl. Texas, 7 days after getting whipped in the trenches, just dominated Oklahoma on the lines of scrimmage. Everybody knows that in this game in particular, that really matters. And to see the Texas D-line outplay the Oklahoma defensive line, phenomenal stuff right there from PK's group. Texas dominated up front. Some of the individual standouts, Colin Simmons, man, that's an NFL game for Colin Simmons right there. When he gets drafted in the first round of the 2027 NFL draft, remember, we still get him for one more year after this one. You're going to see some tape from what he did against OU on Saturday. 2.5 sacks. They had him spying John Mateer a lot. They drop him in coverage more than I would like because he's so good at rushing the passer, but he can do that too. And he was just all over the field, making things happen. Duncanville kid from the area. Game means a lot to him. He showed up and was one of the best players on the field for the Longhorns on Saturday. And Pete Kwiatkowski didn't blitz a ton, but when he did, it hit home. Michael Taff, a big sack on a safety blitz. That really worked. Like a huge element of this game, John Mateer just never looked comfortable. And OU fans who were begging for John Mateer to come back. After the game, I looked at some tweets and some Facebook posts and Instagram and talked to some friends who went to Oklahoma. And, some of them were like, oh, we brought John Mateer back too early. We brought him back too early. He wasn't ready. None of that conversation before the game. That's what the Texas defense did. They never let Mateer get into a rhythm. Oklahoma ran the same offense they were running in the first month of the season. It's not like John Mateer was, looking at that hand a whole lot. Holly Rowe was reporting the whole game like he's fine. He played every single snap for OU in this game. And again, just Texas never let him do anything that he wanted to do. 20 for 38, 202 yards through the air, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Said it earlier. He could have had 4, 5, maybe even 6 picks. He was just constantly confused by this Texas defense. Also only 5 rushing yards on 14 carries for Mateer as well. When Pete Kwiatkowski's defense has struggled in this game, it's been because Oklahoma's quarterbacks have been able to pick up yards on the ground. John Mateer couldn't do anything with his legs, with his arm. Just nothing at all. It was glorious to see. The Texas defense could have had more takeaways. Also, Michael Taft, that fumble, that backwards pass from John Mateer along the Texas sideline. Michael Taft in a full speed sprint tried to pick it up and scoop and score. And he picked up the ball, or he touched the ball with his foot on the sideline. Kind of wish he would have dove for the football. Then again, 2 plays later, you had the Ryan Niblett punt return for a touchdown. So all good there, but just goes to the point that Texas, they had more opportunities to get more takeaways and just didn't happen. No big, deep shots down the field for Oklahoma as well. Texas kept everything in front of them. And it was a struggle. After that first drive, the Sooners did nothing. Dominating defensive performances. So many individual standouts that we could talk about. Again, we're going to hand out some game balls in the next segment, but great to have Manny Muhammad back. What a difference he makes for this Texas Longhorn secondary. 2 interceptions, great coverage throughout. Had another PBU, had a TFL, stat sheet stuffer. Another DFW kid making the most of his opportunities. Yeah, he was great. Special teams, I will be a little critical of special teams. Hard to be super critical because you had the Ryan Niblett 75-yard punt return touchdown that no Texas fan is going to forget anytime soon. That one's going to live in Red River lore for a long, long time. But you did miss a couple of field goals. Ryan Niblett did let one go. Will Stone had a kickoff out of bounds. Jelani McDonald had a personal foul penalty on a punt return. There's still some room to improve there on special teams. But again, you get that touchdown, the biggest special teams play worked in your favor. You will take that. And Steve Sarkisian once again outcoached Brent Venables. Like, what was Oklahoma doing at the end of the first half? My God. Horrible clock management. And then John Mateer just throwing one right to Manny Muhammad. We'll take it. That was a huge swing right there. and some bonehead coaching from Brent Venables. And Oklahoma fans asking some questions. I know they were 5-0, ranked 6th in the country going in. Their schedule gets a lot tougher. We'll see how things end up for the Sooners, but nice for Texas to get to hand them their first loss of the year and once again keep the Sooners out of the end zone. Just glorious. This defense was flying to the football for 60 minutes on Saturday. All right, one segment to go. We've got some game balls to hand out. It's going to be tough to only give out 4 or 5 of these things because there's about 15 or 20 guys who deserve them, but we'll try to limit it a little bit and talk about the best performers from Texas against Oklahoma next on Locked On Longhorns. But first, the NFL season is here. Another Monday night doubleheader coming up today. And our friends at FanDuel have an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5. If it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app instantly. You want to make your Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays a little bit more exciting? You can do that with FanDuel. Whether you're a casual fan or you love deep diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Download the FanDuel app today to get started. And also a shout out to Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's a problem. Well, solution. That's why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. Don't worry about doing spreadsheets. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is here for you. They do all of the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel like you're in control of your money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get half off your first year. Again, 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. All you have to do is type in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, final segment, Monday edition, Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. A few game balls to hand out from the Longhorns' dominating victory over Oklahoma. We'll start with the quarterback, Arch Manning, his best game of his Texas career. Again, I know what he did against Sam Houston, but in that atmosphere against that defense, for him to play the way that he played, 0 turnovers, 0 turnover-worthy plays, all the success on third downs, the success with his legs as well. So many good decisions. Made some great play. Like Arch Manning was pressured 25 times. That's still too many. Now it's better than the 35 that happened in the swamp, but it's not like Arch Manning was getting elite protection for the entire game on Saturday. He was able to make things happen with his legs, extend plays, find open receivers down the field. I talked about that incredible throw to Parker Livingston on that third down on the second drive of the third quarter when Texas was backed up against their own goal line. Arch was so freaking good. Legacy game. When you're a quarterback at Texas, when you're any player at Texas, a lot of your college career is defined by what you do against Oklahoma and against Texas A&M. And this was Arch Manning's first start against a rival. He was fantastic. So much better than John Mateer on the other sideline. Give Arch his flowers. Hopefully this can be a start of a really good stretch of football for him. Ryan Niblett talked about the 75-yard punt return, much maligned by Texas fans. I've been very, very critical of Ryan Niblett. Good things happen when he actually catches the ball, right? When he fields punts, that's what he can do. It's too many punts, and we saw this again on Saturday where he just lets one bounce and then roll for a while. I wish he wouldn't do that because we know he's such a great player, but that 75-yard touchdown, man, when I was a student, that 2013 game, Tajay Johnson had a long punt return touchdown. And I still think about that play all the time. One of my favorite Texas OU memories. As a game Texas had no business winning. Nobody was picking Texas to win. Tajay Johnson, game-changing play on special teams. I still remember it. I know I'm not alone. People are going to remember that Niblett score for a long, long time. He gets a game ball, of course. Manny Muhammad, talked about him last segment. I mean, what can you say? this Texas secondary is a different beast when number 5 is on the field. They got worked by DJ Lagway and those young Florida receivers in the swamp. Manny Muhammad comes back, and not only was he great himself, but you could just tell he elevates the guys around him. And on that first interception he had, that wasn't his man. Like, he saw where John Mateer wanted to go. He saw when he let go of the football where it was going, and he left his guy, jumped the route, had the interception. Obviously, that huge momentum-changing play on what really was the final play of the first half for his second interception. He was magnificent for Texas, a PBU, a TFL as well. Shout out to Manny Muhammad, who can go pro after this year. Not trying to rush him out or anything, but that's a game that NFL, a lot of NFL scouts in the building Saturday afternoon in Dallas. And they saw a lot of number 5. Good for him. Happy for him. Talked about Colin Simmons, his 2.5 sacks. He was all over the place. Texas asked him to do a bunch of different things, drop back in coverage, rush the passer. They had him lined up inside. They had him lined up outside. They had him spying John Mateer. Didn't matter what they asked number 1 to do. He looked like the number 1 player on this Texas defense. Colin Simmons was great. His best game of the year without question. And then Trey Wisner, the Sooner Slayer. What a game for him on the ground, through the air. You know he's playing banged up. Hell, it looked like he got hurt a couple of different times in this game on Saturday, and he's still out there breaking tackles, running hard, making guys miss, turning something into nothing a lot. Such an easy kid to root for. Another Metroplex area kid. This game means a lot to those folks from the DFW area. Oklahoma obviously has a bunch of Dallas-Fort Worth kids on their team too. The Texas DFW kids showed up and showed out. Trey Wisner, the 3-star, continues to have great performances in big games. Again, OU last year, also A&M last year in College Station. Legacy games. Trey Wisner defining a really nice legacy in Austin. And then a couple honorable mentions. I think that's 5 right there, so we'll stop there. But Brad Spence and Lance Jackson. Brad Spence, 6 pressures, 1 sack, 2 TFLs, and only 16 pass rush snaps. Lance Jackson, the true freshman, 4 pressures, 1 sack on only 8 pass rush snaps. Those guys making the most of their opportunities. They were 2 of the top 5 highest graded players for the Longhorns on defense, according to Pro Football Focus. Shout out to them as well. I don't want their efforts to go unnoticed. And again, we could give out 10 more of these with the way Texas played, especially in the second half. That was fun. That was fun. A season-saving victory for the Longhorns. Now, what do you do with it? We'll talk about that throughout the rest of the week. I did see that Texas opened up as a 12.5-point favorite for their game against Kentucky on Saturday. This can't be the one highlight of the year. You got to parlay this into more success moving forward. Texas 1-1 in the SEC. A lot of football left to be played. We'll see if the Longhorns can put together a streak starting this weekend. But, hey, for now, we're still celebrating. 23-6, another beatdown of Oklahoma. God, it was so glorious. And it's still so glorious 2 days later. That'll do it for today's show. If you made it this far, number 1, God bless you. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all of those great things. Always enjoy y'all's feedback. Really do appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets. My man Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have you covered for all of your sports betting needs. Expert analysis, game picks, the lock of the day. They've got it all. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. More takeaways from this game, more look ahead to Kentucky coming up on tomorrow's show. But that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.